Hello and welcome to episode 2 of the Footy with Fletch podcast. It is your host, Fletch Fraser. Today's special guest on the Footy with Fletch podcast, it is the Carlton senior coach, David Teague. Let's go through David's playing career and coaching career stats. David Teague was drafted by the North Melbourne Football Club as a rookie in the 2000 AFL draft. He played 33 senior games with the Kangaroos between 2001 and 2003. He was traded to the Carlton Football Club at the end of the 2003 AFL season. Teague had a fantastic 2004 season at the Blues, capping it off by winning the John Nichols Best and Fairest. He played 50 games with the Blues between 2004 and 2006. He finished his AFL playing career in 2006 with a total of 83 games. In October 2007, it was announced that David would continue with the Carlton Football Club as a development coach. He would also be a playing coach at the Northern Bullets, which was the Carlton VFL side. Teague retired from being a player at the Bullets. However, he retained his coaching role and was able to coach the Bullets to their first grand final in 2009, where they finished runners-up to North Ballarat. In 2010, Teague coached the Bullets to another grand final, however they unfortunately lost. In 2011, Teague was appointed as an assistant coach for the West Coast Eagles. In 2013, David Teague joined the Saints as a coach for a year. Then in 2014, he was appointed as the assistant coach under the newly appointed Phil Walsh as a forwards coach at the Adelaide Football Club. In 2017, David Teague returned to the Blues as their forwards coach. Now in 2019, David Teague was announced as the interim coach of the Carlton Football Club following the sacking of Brendan Bolden. He was then appointed the Blues senior coach on a 3-year deal in August last year. This is the Footy with Fletch podcast, episode 2. David Teague, let's take it away.
G'day Fletch, how you going?
Good, thanks. How are you?
No, I'm very, very well.
That's good. So I was wondering, what was it like growing up and playing football in the small country town of Catra?
I loved it. It was all I knew, but from a little kid, my dad played there, so I was going from when I was born, and the football and netball are together, so the whole community comes together. It's only a small town. There's not even a pub, so the local footy became your watering hole where the families of the area would come together. So I loved it. It probably influenced me a lot on how important team and community are to me, and the way I coach. So the team element of the game is probably one of the areas that I love most.
Yeah, that's really important. Do you still visit Catra?
When I can. I don't get up there anywhere near as much as I would like. My family used to live there up until probably 5 or 6 years ago. So I probably get up towards Shepparton a bit to visit mum and dad, but I don't make it out to Katandra a lot. I think I only made it to Katandra twice last year, but hopefully over the journey I can continue to get back there. I love the local footy there, and if there's ever a sad day where I can get up and watch the local footy, it's something I really enjoy.
That's really important. So when you were a kid, David, did you always want to be an AFL footballer?
Absolutely. That was my goal. It was a toss-up between that and playing tennis at the elite level in terms of my dreams. But when I got to about 13, 14, I knew that the tennis dream wasn't going to happen. So I put all my eggs into the football basket in the sense of that's where my passion was. I think when I was about 12, I said, someone said to me, "Oh, drinking alcohol doesn't help you become an AFL footballer." So I said, "Oh, I won't do it. I won't have a drink till I'm 18." And in a small country town, everyone sort of laughed at me a bit, but I didn't have my first beer until I was 18. So I was pretty proud of that effort. But that was definitely my passion.
Yeah, that's really good, David. So which AFL team did you support growing up?
Yeah, I grew up going for Melbourne. There was quite a few in the area that went for Melbourne. Rodney Grinter, who he'd grown up in Catra and was playing at Melbourne at the time, was also a family connection there. His mum and my dad were cousins, so I followed Melbourne. My father was a North Melbourne supporter, so I always had a soft spot for them. He played some under-19s and reserves footy for North years ago, so I always had a soft spot for them, but I went for Melbourne, which a lot of the community did.
Yeah, that's really good. And it's sort of funny that your dad went for North Melbourne because, of course, that's where you started your AFL career.
Yeah, I was lucky in the sense that when I didn't get drafted out of the under-18 system, North Melbourne at the time were their VFL team back then were the Murray Kangaroos, and they tried to create a relationship with the Murray area, which used to be a zoning area till many years ago. And I think, to be honest, it was just to save a bit of money with their licensing fee. But being part of that, they had to get all their top-up players from that area. So I was coming down to go to uni anyway. So I was very lucky. There was 3 of us that actually got to train with North Melbourne full-time, yet we got to play in their reserves. If we didn't get a game, we had to go back and play in the Ovens and Murray.
Wow, that's really cool. Who would have been a mentor that would have influenced your playing career?
Oh, there's many along the way. My father was probably the biggest one that's influenced my playing and also, to be honest, a bit of my coaching journey. He coached my under-14 team and was always there. We'd sit there and watch a lot of footy in the country, and obviously he played. As I grew up, Dennis Pagan had a big impact on me when I went to North Melbourne. Obviously, 2-time premiership coach, and getting the opportunity to learn from him. And one of the things he really taught me was do the basics well under pressure, and the game hasn't changed, and that's what the good teams do. And you look at Richmond now, and that's what they do. They win the contest, and they get the ball forward, and they do it under pressure. So he was a great influence. And then another influence from a coaching point of view was Phil Walsh. He had a massive influence when I was at West Coast. He was an assistant coach, and he put his arms around myself and a couple of other assistant coaches there and really helped us grow and challenged our thinking and ways of doing things. So from a coaching point, they were probably the leaders. From a playing point of view, when I got to North Melbourne, I idolized Glenn Archer and Lee Colbert were probably the 2 that I loved to watch. And Anthony Stevens was probably the other. And just seeing the way they went about training and playing, I tried to emulate what they did. Particularly off the field, it was their training and their habits that allowed them to be such good players on the field. And then on the field, their competitiveness is something that I really respected and loved about the way they played.
Yeah, that's really good. Do you think that Dennis Pagan, did he give you any advice to become a coach?
Yeah, my last year at Carlton, I was on the list, and at the start of the season, he suggested that the club were probably looking to play a lot of the kids, and that it might have been tough for me to get a game that year. And he asked me if I had an interest in coaching, and I said that I did. And he said that he thought that it'd be a great pathway for me to follow. He thought he saw something in me in the coaching area, and he started to help me out. And he allowed me to sit in some of the box game days, and he started sort of teaching me a little bit of the craft of coaching. And that year I got a lot of enjoyment out of helping the younger players in the VFL get games for Carlton, because I probably would have got very frustrated if I just kept trying myself to get into the senior team. But to help others and see them get better, along with Dennis's honesty at the start of the year, probably allowed me to start investing in coaching a year before I'd finished playing.
That's fantastic. How do you prepare for an AFL match each week?
Yeah, look, I'm a big believer that the work you do throughout the week will allow you, and pre-season is very important, but then you get to train and practice during the week, and then game day, hopefully you get to the stage where the players are in a mindset where they can just go play. And so the week leading up, you obviously you review your game on some learnings. You particularly focus on the learnings you think are going to help you best to beat the opposition you're playing that week. You'll have a look at the opposition as well, have a look at a couple of key points. I'm pretty big on not giving the players too much information about the opposition, just the key points that we then relate back to our game style and what we need to do well. I'm a believer that you need to worry about yourself and get your own. If you bring your best footy, you're going to be hard to beat. So to spend a fair bit of time making sure that your strengths and your areas are covered. So you do a little bit of that, and then individually players will review their game, but then they'll also prepare for the game, particularly defenders. They'll start looking at their opponents. Midfielders will look at opposition's stoppage structures and strategies and a bit of running patterns, and then the forwards will have a look at how one team defends and how other teams may have beat that direct opponent or defensive set. So they're probably the key elements to prepare for a game. And then hopefully by the time the ball's bounced and to be honest, a day out from the game, you're hoping most things are covered and the players are just in a frame of mind where they can just go play.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So, David, you wore the number 15 at Carlton. Did you get to choose to wear that number?
Funny story. When I got to Carlton, they did ask, and there was a lot of new players that year. I think it was the year after that they copped some draft penalties from a salary cap. So they had a lot of players from other clubs. And someone, I think Shane O'Sullivan or Colin Kinnear asked me, they said, well, what number would you like? And I said, oh, look, I'm not too fussed. 11 was my favourite number as a footballer. And Barnaby French had 11, so it wasn't available. So I said, 2, 5, or 10, any of those numbers I like. I'm happy with any of those. Not really too fussed. So when they told me I had 15, I was like, why'd you even ask? I didn't get any of the three. I gave them 3 options and I didn't get any of them anyway. So I wasn't sure, but in the end, the number on your back doesn't faze me too much. It's what you do inside the jumper that counts.
Yeah. So, of course, the current number 15 is co-captain Sam Doherty. Who do you think is the best number 15 at the Carlton Football Club?
Well, he is currently, but no, look, Sam Doherty's a great player, All-Australian, best and fairest, who's been through some adversity with his knees, and the way he's handled himself, he's been super professional. And right now, we're not playing footy. It probably, if there's someone I think about a lot, it's probably Sam. He's got to a stage where his body's ready to handle it, and there's no games to be played. So he's a very good player, and I can't wait to see him back out there playing footy again in the navy blue jumper.
Yeah, it will be great to see him back out playing in the navy blue. So the Carlton Football Club in round 1 against the reigning premiers Richmond, who laid 52 tackles for the whole match. However, Carlton only laid 23 tackles for the match. Is this an area that you need to improve in?
Well, we do off that one game. So, yes, it is an area. It's something we focused a little bit over the pre-season, our technique, and we need to improve our technique. But when you look at that game in isolation, it was poor. But against Brisbane, particularly the first half, when we played against Collingwood, our tackle pressure in itself was quite strong. So, absolutely, that game wasn't at the standard. But I'd like to think the way we've trained, the intensity the players have brought to training, hopefully that was a one-off and the rest of the year will be a lot better. But you're right, you're not going to win too many games with 23 tackles. And to be honest, we still gave ourselves a chance. So it showed that we did a lot right in the other areas, but we need to be stronger there.
Yeah, that is really important. So if there was one former Carlton player that you could bring back onto the list of the Carlton Football Club, who would it be and why?
Oh, I've been asked this one a few times. I just love Bristol. I think he'd be a phenomenon, especially with the looks and the marketing that goes on now. Look, in our list, John Nichols would be outstanding, a tough leader and plays in the ruck. Obviously, a champion of the game. Someone like that would be really good for us. But then you could add another midfielder, a Greg Williams, or someone from an inside mid that would. Is probably the area that we need to continue to grow. We've got some good talent there. We just need them to continue to get better.
Yeah, they are all really great players and champions of the Carlton Football Club. What would be your favourite win as the Carlton senior coach?
Yeah, it's a toss-up. Everyone goes, it's got to be Brisbane, your first one where we came from behind. And that one was pretty cool. I loved it. I can remember looking up at one stage and I didn't realise, I thought we were playing well. And then I looked at the scoreboard and I saw we were 6 goals down, sort of halfway through the second quarter. And I thought, gee, if I'm thinking that, I need to calm the other coaches down. I said, we just need the next 2 goals and we're back in this, which we got. And at halftime, I was pretty confident the way we were playing that we're still a chance. The other game is Fremantle. We went over there. We knew we weren't going to have Cripps and Harry Mackay. Charlie Curnow went down within the first quarter. It got a bit, well, down again. It was a bit wet, and the way the guys toughed it out and they fought, and it probably showed to the players, and it showed to Cripper that they could win without him, and he didn't have to carry the load. But it also showed the rest of the team that they're very capable. If we all play our roles and get our job done, that we're a very capable team. So to come back over there without Cripper and Harry and Charlie, I thought was a great effort.
Yeah, it was a great goal there for Mark Murphy. What do you think is the best part of your job as the senior coach at Carlton?
Oh, it's the people. It's getting to work with really highly motivated people that want to get better and become the best that they can be. And look, I love the game. I love the strategy side of it. I love the teaching and education side of it. But without the people and interaction, I think that's the bit that's the best. And when you see someone, one of the most rewarding things as a coach is probably too as an individual. It's when you see someone work hard on it and then they go out there and they do it under immense pressure and they execute a certain skill or a certain pattern, and you can see the learning. And then the other one that you love is when you see a group of people come together and they play for each other and they care about each other, and to see them win and the look in their eye and that 5 minutes straight after a game when they've worked really hard and they've won and they know they've done it together, to know that you've played a role in that is a pretty powerful feeling to have.
Yeah, it would be really cool to experience that. How have you been managing your players' well-being at their time away from the club due to the current circumstances?
Yeah, look, that's been our priority is their well-being, and everyone's different, so you've got to treat them differently. So for some, you've got to contact a bit more. For others, they don't want too much contact. The one good thing is that we're a pretty motivated and driven group. I think they're training really hard, and from what I'm hearing and seeing, the training side hasn't been an issue for us. I think they're working hard. The challenge has been, you want, as a coach, you want to keep educating and keep teaching, but they've probably only got so much motivation at the moment. So we're trying to manage that. So hopefully physically that they come back and skills work. We'll put a skills program in. We're really hoping they nailed that. And then from a football education side of things, we'll pick that up closer to when we know we're playing. But we have meetings, we have Zoom meetings, we have smaller groups, we have line groups, we have whole team meetings. We're still getting them to make a few videos, have a bit of fun. We still want to enjoy our footy. And so there's a few different ways. And then a lot of our players, they're actually getting together in pairs and training when they can. So that's a good sign when you see them wanting to work with other teammates to get better. That's something that as a coach, gives you confidence that they're a good group and they like to help each other out.
Yeah, that's really good because players' well-being during these difficult times is very important. So the Carlton Football Club have had slow starts in recent history. How do you plan to improve this area of your team's game?
Yeah, look, it's a great point. And if there was a magic button to press, I'd be pressing it. But look, we've got to understand the why. And what I've loved about this group is when they do get challenged and they get behind, they find a way to get back into the game and play. So from a talent point of view and a system point of view, I think our players believe that they can do it. What we need to do is get a mindset that we're going out there ready to go from the first bounce, and probably not wait to see what's happening, is to start making it happen and taking control. So it is definitely something that we've discussed a little bit. The way they've trained, if they keep training to the standard they've trained at and keep bringing the intensity from the start of training, I think that pattern will disappear very quickly. But it's probably more of a mindset thing that we need to get right at the moment.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So how do you balance the demand of being an AFL coach with, of course, being a father?
Yeah, look, that's probably one of the bigger challenges. It's actually been a lot harder at the moment because you're doing a lot of work from home, where in the past, it's when you're not there, you're working, but when you come home and you walk through that door, my kids don't see me as a coach. They just see me as dad, and I love that feeling. And I'm very lucky in that sense that they're really young. So I love spending time with them. I actually don't get my computer up until this period, but in the normal season, I don't get my computer out until they go to bed a lot of the time. So I'm happy to stay up later, but while they're there, I really like to be really present and be involved with them. So it is a challenge. I'm very lucky. I've got an extremely supportive wife, which helps as well. But the bigger challenge is right now because everything's over Zoom or it's on your phone, and then you're trying to then homeschool and communicate, yet you're on your computer all day, makes it a lot more challenging than normal.
Yeah, that is really true. So you are a PE teacher qualified. Are you sort of helpful with being a teacher to your kids, or not really, because your main focus is on the senior coach of Carlton?
No, I try. Finding the time to get with them. We've still got a lot of meetings at the moment, so I'm lucky that I'm still on the small crew of staff that are still working, and we've got a lot of meetings. One with you talk about the welfare and checking in on the players, but then also planning for going forward. So when I can, I actually enjoy trying to help out my son. I do find though when you're coaching, when you're teaching your own child, they probably don't listen quite as much as they would if it was a teacher speaking to them. But no, I do enjoy it, but I do get a little frustrated at times when he's very keen just to get the job done, bang done. There's not a lot of effort put into it, especially when it comes to writing. But some of the other things he gets into a bit more.
Yeah, that's really good. Can you provide us an update on the Carlton Football Club's injured players and how they're tracking?
Yeah, look, we're going pretty well at the moment. Obviously, Charlie looks like he'll be out for the season, which look, we understand he's a very, very good player and a super talent, and we just want to get him right. So we'll take our time with that one. Matthew Cruiser had an injury. He hurt his foot round one. So I think they're saying that'll take sort of 4 months to heal. So I don't know what sort of time frame that's 4 months to play again, or it's 4 months to just get back going. But other than that, when we come out of the when we come back out to playing, we should have most of the rest of the squad available. From round one, I think Caleb Marchbank, Harry Mackay and Eddie Betts weren't available. They should all be back up and going and available for the next game. But after this period, and then we do a bit of training, we'll have to reassess where we're at then before the next game.
Yeah, it will be really good to see Charlie Curnow out on the field, hopefully in 2020 or either 2021. So can you provide us some insight into the 2020 Carlton leadership group and what aspect of leadership each of the players have brought to their position?
Yeah, look, it's a great question, and I know there's a lot of talk often around leaderships groups, and that's exactly your question posed well. Is they've each got their strengths. The really good story is probably Liam Jones, who originally was when we voted, he was just on the edge, but over the pre-season, the other leaders said he's just got to be part of it. He just trained with an intensity. He competed, so he brought that element. He also had a calming effect. In meetings, he's quite calculated, and when he spoke, people really listened. You've got a Doherty who's a student of the game, understands the game, spent 2 years virtually playing as a coach. Cripper, who loves the analytics of the game in the sense of what opposition do and how do we beat them. Leads from the front end, putting his head over the ball. And then you've got some guys, some really selfless guys in terms of an Ed Curnow and Jacob Wiedering, who'll do anything for the team, play a role. But Ed's off-the-field stuff of bringing people along and keeping the group together is outstanding. And then Sam Walsh is the other member, and Sam Walsh and Mark Murphy. And Sam Walsh is obviously, he's still young to be in a leadership group, but the way he trains, the way he prepares, his professionalism is something that guys can learn from. And then obviously Mark Murphy's been around a while, and to be honest, I've been super impressed with his growth as a leader and the way he does it. And even just this year, sitting in the more meetings with him around the leadership, he has an ability not to say a lot, but when he speaks, he has a really calmness and a balanced view on a lot of things. So I've been super impressed with his development as a leader.
That's really good. So what are you impressed by from the new recruits based on their pre-season training and their pre-season matches and round one, in particularly Jack Martin and Jack Nunes?
Yeah, well, both have trained really well, so it was no surprise that they went out and played. Jack Martin's hardness, I knew he tackled, I just didn't know how tough he was until you watch him at training. And I'm a big believer that you play the way you train. You don't step up to the game. You actually go back to your training levels. And he's trained really well. He's hard. He's tough. He likes physical contact, and he's super smart. His body positioning. He protects his teammates. Jack Nunes has obviously he's played a lot of footy. He plays wings a tricky position, and he plays it quite well. His kicking has been something we've really enjoyed at training. He runs with the ball, and he's been using the ball really well. Eddie was the one that didn't play round one, but he's been outstanding. He's been our dominant small forward on the training track. And the players, not only the small forwards get to watch and learn from him, the small defenders get to practice playing against someone that has serious forward craft. And he plays different to a lot of players, so it's great for our backs to get the opportunity to play on him. And he's a leader as well. He's not in our leadership group, but he's forever trying to help players that are playing on him. I remember one day Cam Polson was playing on him, and Eddie was telling him, you got to hit me more. And I've got no doubt the last thing Eddie wanted was someone to hit him and bump him more, but he was telling Cam that's how you play on him. And I thought that leadership and craft has been outstanding. So Mark Pitnet's probably the other one who's from an experience point of view, and he was super close to a game in round one, and he'll get an opportunity now that Cruz is down. But he just hits bodies. He likes to protect. He competes in the ruck, and then he looks to protect his mids, which I've got no doubt our midfield will really enjoy when he starts playing alongside him. So they're the guys from a recruit point of view. From a drafting point of view, Sam Philp and Josh Honey have probably been the two that have shown. Josh Honey's got serious speed, and Sam Philp's a competitor. Sam Ramsey's come along quite well. He had a little injury towards the end, but he showed he can play half forward, half back on the wing, and he's another one that likes to compete. And then Brody Kemp he had his knee operated on, so the boys haven't seen much of him. He's been in rehab a fair bit. And then Fraser Phillips is the other one who he's just the boys stir him about how skinny he is, but in the game against Brisbane at 3 times, he went back with a fly to the ball in front of packs, and he's super brave. So I think he earned a fair bit of respect from his teammates when he's doing acts like that.
Yeah, that's really important. Do you believe that the shorter 2020 AFL season, if we get back to playing, will support your veterans in Matthew Cruiser, Kate Simpson and Eddie Betts to even possibly play on in 2021?
Oh, I don't know if the games, like the shorter season or the shorter minutes, I don't know. You're going to also have games played 5 days apart. So it's a bit unknown. We don't know what it's like. We'll cross the bridge of whether they'll play on next year. Their form and their body will be the two main areas that we'll have to look at. But I'm still looking forward to getting Eddie back out there in the navy blue jumper, and obviously Simo got to play round one. So Cruz issue, we'll have to see how he recovers. But with the season getting pushed back, he might be an opportunity later in the season as well.
Yeah, that would be great to see. Do you think that the draft age should be raised to 19?
I'm probably not. I just look at a Sam Walsh last year and think if he had to wait one more year to play AFL, it'd be unfair on him. He was ready to go. He showed he was ready to go and he could compete. So I don't mind the idea of the percentage of players going up, but clubs don't have to draft them at 18 either. So if they want the draft age to go up, they can start taking 19-year-olds if they think they need an extra year to develop. So, I'm probably reluctant to change it, especially when you see a Sam Walsh come through, and whether Matt Rowell does this, and you've seen Joel Selwood in the past. And I remember at West Coast, Jack Darling didn't need another year of waffle footy. He was ready to go in the first year when I was over there.
Sam Walsh had a fantastic debut season for the Blues. And just finally, Do you support the idea of playing matches in an AFL format, and how would you be able to cope with the time away from your family if they're not allowed in the hubs?
Yeah, I do support it. Look, I love this game, and right now it's not what we all signed up for, and I think people need to be aware of that. But at the end of the day, I think we'll have 22 players that will be happy to run out there and play. And in my role as a coach and being grateful for the opportunities the AFL give me, if I can help that, help the game continue and stay afloat at the moment. Obviously, it's challenging times for everyone, but what I could do right now is help with the AFL game. So I am supportive. My wife understands the position I'm in, and she said that she gets it. She would love me to be at home, and I'd love to be at home with my family. But right now, in the future we'll look back and it'll be a short amount of time, but it is going to be hard, and it's going to be harder for some than others. But no, I'm very comfortable to support it.
That is really good. So thank you very much, David, for coming on the Footy with Fletch podcast. It has been great to have you. Of course, you've got a very busy schedule as the senior coach of Carlton. So thanks again.
No, not a problem at all, Fletch.
And there we have it. There is the Footy with Fletch podcast episode 2. Thank you very much to the Carlton senior coach, David Teague, for coming on my podcast. It was a privilege and an honour to have you as a guest. I wish you and the Carlton Football Club the very best if the 2020 AFL season recommences, which is looking more than likely. So best of luck for the rest of the season to David and his Blues. We will have episode 3 of the Footy with Fletch podcast very soon. Bye for now.